So Mark, we have a bit of an agenda tonight. We're going to talk about quick wins.
Yeah.
Now, I think we all have our own idea of what a quick win is.
Sure.
I mean, we all have our own idea of what a win is, right? That's relative.
Uh-huh.
And we all have our own idea of what quick is. Something quick is a matter of hours. Something quick is a matter of days. You personally, just so that we can get on your page, because let's face it, it's a successful page. It's obviously working. What does a quick win look like to you?
I think a quick win can be defined as, well, win in any regard. They're small to start, and you and I build on them. We stack on them. And if we're talking about the subject of money, which today is about wealth, it's about how do I get from where I am, could be 0 wins. And if we become disciplined around the conversation of money, those wins become easier. I'd grab a pen, jot this down. I've been thinking about this for years, but it really is. We live in a yes society. You walk into the cafe, would you like a juice with that? It's only an extra $5. And all of a sudden you're spending $15 instead of 10. You walk into Shell, would you like 3 extra chocolate bars for $5 with your fuel purchase? You go to Macca's, you've done it yourself. Do you want to upgrade that meal? Everything is about yes. But here's what I would say to you in response to that. No defines who we are. What we say no to start by you addressing 12. Fantastic. We've got 712 to work with. What are the small wins? What am I saying no to? It's not about being stingy. It's not about being tight. It's about being sophisticated around the conversation of money. It's not being frivolous. It's not being wasteful. And rich people are like this. You know, we're not tight. We're actually quite generous, but we're very studious in where our money goes. We're deliberate. We are measured. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, at the time, and his father was making 20, 30 million per annum net, not gross, not turnover, net, what you keep and spend. Graham was crushing it. And I remember going to dinner one time with a whole group of people and they divvied up the bill. And that to me just set off a marker. They're not crazy with money. They're not sponsoring everyone's dinner. They're not lavish, they're not stupid. In fact, the reason that Graham was so wealthy is he was so measured, not tight, but tactful. He knew where his money was going. And that's what I want to encourage you tonight, is to say, where am I leaking money? What are the memberships that are attached to my credit card or my bank account each month that I don't even use? What's now disappearing that I have no control over? And start to eliminate those. Start to claw back the money. Say no to things. And I mean no. I don't need the 7 coffees this week, the 15 coffees. I don't need the pedicure, the manicure this week. I don't need the massage. I don't need the hair extensions this month. It might be a case of saving $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 a month. My objective, and we'll open this conversation on Friday, today's Wednesday, is to get you to a place where you have at least $20,000 in savings. That to me is a great reset, that I'm good and I'm responsible with cash, with money. And now I can cultivate and turn that 20 into 25, 30, 35. They're small wins, they're quick wins. But they're quick when you say no. And I think too many of us are sort of assigned to this idea that I can afford it all, I'll pay for it tomorrow, I've got a credit card, I've got equity in the home, I've got a redraw facility on my business. And that's bullshit. That is not responsible. That to me is just, it's kicking the can further down the road. So I think the responsibility conversation is one that you really need to think about carefully. You know, where have you leaked money? In the past, you know, I had a horrible behaviour pattern around money. My idea was, my belief was, we're going to be responsible, smart, studious. We're going to apply that affluent mindset. I'm not going to see waste anymore. Done. But the other edge, the other leading edge of that sword is I'm going to earn more revenue, hence 20 grand. And if I can attack it from both sides, you really are addressing the issue head on. A home budget or a family budget, right? Too many ideas, one mouth. And I see value. And you don't have to be super strict with all of this. But one of the things that I certainly would set yourself up to win, and I'll explain this in further detail, but run a sort of quick home balance. Put ins, you might put Brad, he's your partner, and you might put your income. You know, your name might be Tabitha. You might earn, and just work on a monthly basis. The rich don't work in weeks, we don't work in years. Weeks are too short, years are too long. Everything is based around a monthly block. What are my ins? What are my expenditures? What are my outs? And I run this for businesses now. We've got 73 enterprises. I run cash flows over every single one of them. I sit down with my financial controller every month. These are A3s. And Tab will be $3,000 a month. That's extraordinary. Well, yours might only be $5,500, $7,000, $8,000 a month. Make it or adjust it to according to your home. Now, outs. What are the physical outs in the home? It could be rent. It could be phones. Think of the stuff that you don't take any notice of. The things that are the monetary responsibilities that are attached to your credit cards. Gym memberships are another good one that people don't realise is sucking money out of you all the time. Things like food, you know, groceries. And what you want to start to imagine is, Mark, I've got this much coming in, but I've got this much going out. Now, rent per month, and remember, don't work on 4 weeks. There's always 4.3 weeks. You might say, my rent in Sydney is $950. $950 by 4.3 weeks, $4,085 a month. Everything is month-based. There's 12 blocks to a year. This is how smart business people do things. Phones, you might turn around and say, my plan's only $150 a month. We'll buy 2, there's 300. Me and Brad, or me and Tab. Gym memberships, I don't know. Groceries alone. Groceries, it might cost you $700 a week to fill the trolley. 700 by 4.3, $3,010 a month. You can start to quickly see where money's going. If the gym membership's say $120 a week, between the two of you, that's $240 a week by 4. You might say, geez, that's being very anal. It's like it's being very clinical about how things work. But at the same time too, there is no point in working incredibly hard to see money go to waste. I would rather you turn around and say, well, listen, I'm smashing out 45 hours a week as a plumber, or I'm doing 45 hours a week with New South Wales Health. Great salary, but I'm not getting paid for 38. I'd rather see you dial back your lifestyle, dial back your responsibilities at work, and then live a happy life. But if the conversation is about you really starting to excel, starting to really push the needle in what you earn and what you can, and it pisses me off, but in Putney, London, driving an Audi, came back fucking broke. Now, he's earning £310,000 a year to come back to nothing in Australia. I find that remarkable, that the skills of money have not been learned, and hence the reason we're having this conversation. You really want to take ownership of this, because you can go out there and kill yourself in business, take all the risks, but if you're not good with it, it's leaking through your fingers. What's the overall gain? So I say to you, take account of exactly what that equals per month. And you might turn around and say, well, listen, rough number, 1,04277, it's around about 8,755 is my best guess. We're doing a calculator. But all of a sudden now, these people here are in positive. Okay, there's enough room to save, but more importantly, they know line by line where the money is going. And I think that's incredibly critical if you and I are going to build speed of earning so much money and going to all this trouble for no gain, no net gain. Make sense?
Makes complete sense. And the whole idea that we're going to make more in the future, that really stands out when you say that. And I think that stands out to a lot of people. And the idea that we're living in the future. We're not working with what we've got.
We're living well outside of our means.
It's really dangerous, and I've been in this position a lot, and I know a lot of other people have. And it's funny, isn't it? It's almost like we talk about this. The social pressure to not be stingy, to be detailed. To sit at dinner and say, my part of the bill was this, your part of the bill was that, and not say, oh, don't worry, mate, I got it.
Yes.
When you can't afford it.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
The social click that you need to say, oh, guys, I'll get this one.
Sure.
Just to be the hero.
It's ego. It's fucking ego. I've got this. I'll take care of it. I've got all the answers. You've got to stop that. Because ego will force you to make terrible fucking decisions in money. You start to now really evolve as a business person, and your ego's making the decisions and not the feasibility. Your ego's in front of the financial numbers. You are destined for destruction. There is no doubt. And you see these people blow up all the time. They look like they've got all the money. They smell right. They look right. I change. We fit the You know what to do. You're not sitting there letting your ego guide or steer your next business decision. Oh, I can expand. I can actually absorb that company. I'll acquire that company and do the hard yards and suffer and make a mess of our credit cards and our CRA, and we're upside down and we have those sleepless nights. We evolve, man. We grow. We want to be self-made.
Isn't it hilarious? It's like we have this fantasy of, success, and that we will be successful in the future.
Sure.
And we lose sight of the fact that if today wasn't successful on a small scale, then how do we expect the future to be successful?
Sure.
You land successful because of what got you there.
Yes, right.
And I refer back to this dinner. I think it's a great example where we are putting on a show.
Yes.
And the show is more important than our actual...
It's a great marker in someone's evolution. Today, And we had this conversation a bit earlier. Today, I was sitting across the table from, 5 or 6 men this afternoon. Great, good, solid men, human beings. When the conversation opens with how's your wife, how's your children, rather than commerce, you're already on the right path. There's a fellow there that's sort of worth circa 450 million, very smart guy, brilliant guy. Another guy there, movie director, recently moved back from LA, champion fellow. Another guy there, serious banker, $1 billion plus a year personally, he writes. There's some pretty heavy hitters at the table. Another guy, an art dealer, absolute fucking genius, how he does it, very clever. But the deal split. You don't see Adam sitting there with the 450 million going, yeah, I got this. And there's, beers, there's whatever. And all of a sudden, it's kind of, in your own way, you realise, I don't want anyone to try and be the fucking hero. I don't want to be a part of that crowd, that clique. You want to be a bit more real, a bit more raw. But 450 million can clearly afford more than putting around money. We live in a yes, want an upgrade of this. You go buy furniture, we've got this package. It's just bullshit. Hey, sweetheart, the marketing doesn't have to be real. They don't have to tell the truth. And I say this too because you want to be money fit. There is no point having a colossal amount of capital and money in the future if you can't solve it with more money. You can't just make more revenue. You need to be responsible. If you don't water a plant, it will die. If you don't take responsibility of your financial affairs now, you're fucking dead before you start. It's that serious. And I hear this conversation all the time. I'm starting a business. Well, that's even fucking more riskier. 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. That's only 60 months. That curve up, credit cards. And I would say to you, a challenge in the next month, cut up the credit cards. Pay it out in cash, do what you can, because then it forces you to be more responsible with cash running through your wallet. And although we know we live in a cashless society, there comes a tax, but they also get more money from you. They get fees, it's called 1.35% of everything they do. It's called the fucking bank. So I would say to you, discard credit cards, get rid of them, cut them up, or at least have the view that they've got to go. The next month, 5, 6 months, it's fucking gone. Now, the only exception to that is if your child needed something and it was obviously urgent. It was a health-related issue. It's not a pair of school shoes. Become disciplined. Force yourself to follow the line. I was very measured, pragmatic, and studious. I'm not stingy. You ask anybody. Very generous, very forthcoming. And I am for the right people. If I think they're taking advantage of me, the game's over. Don't mistake my generosity for naivety. Ever. Big fucking mistake. But I'm very, very generous, and it's only because I've learned to be responsible with this resource called money.
Money's valuable, right? That's the whole reason it's money.
It's the currency.
Right? It's money, it's value. And what's
carbon tax? I can't see anything else as being free. You pay for water from the council. No, I'm going to answer that question with a blunt no.
And the reason I ask is because, we can be very quick to make quick decisions with our money. Mm-hmm. Very quick decisions.
Uninformed, you're referring to?
Very uninformed. Whether you just saw something at the shops and you got credit, and you got pressure from the shopkeeper.
Yep.
Or there's a sale on, and
yes.
It's only today.
Yes.
All these things.
Well, FOMO is a strategy of selling. We all know that, and they play it well. And unfortunately, most uneducated consumers fall clear into that. And not being disrespectful, but women are far more irrational in that sense than men. It's a sale. How many times I've had my partner come home and go, I saved you $1,700. No, but you spent $3,500. No, I saved $1,700. What's that? There's $3,500 missing, but I saved you $700. We didn't have to buy it. And it's almost this mental justification of there was a bargain. So yes, to round out your question.
Exactly. And what it highlights to me is that people aren't valuing this after-tax dollar that they're getting in their wallet. Yeah. They're not seeing. I've been through this. I see $10 now. It almost looks like $100 to me, in terms of the value that I'm now putting onto it.
Okay.
Because how much did I have to work to get $10? Take the tax away.
Got it.
My business, then take away the overheads.
Got it.
How much did my business have to make? But then for me...
About 90 to end up with 10 net.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's valuable shit.
Yes, it is. And if you do that equation, you transpose that equation over what you sacrificed. The majority of us have been completely gamed into the idea of consumerism. There is no question, that we are the target. We are the mark. When you pull out a credit card at Coles or Woolies, honestly, how many times you walk down and go, I'll get 3 things, and you walk out with 2 baskets. That's the strategy. The shit all down near. So you just spent $44 and you're going to arcs back a little bit, without sort of sounding confusing. But if someone doesn't have direction in what they want financially, it makes it very, very hard for them to understand why this is so fucking important. But you're already if they're willing to listen. But you will never see a financial fucking titan that is frivolous with money. I can promise you, they don't exist. They're a billionaire for a reason. They're not monthlies, and every single I can go out there and reinvest in. Some of those will spit out $1 million a month in profit. Terrific. I've got $1 million this month to go out there and redeploy as fresh cash. And that requires discipline. Do you want more dessert? Yeah, of course. But 55% of Australians are obese. What's the deal with that? Learn to say fucking no, stick to the plan, and you'll get better. Those small wins actually encourage you. They feed a sense of confidence and progress. And all of a sudden it's like, shit, I've got 11 grand in the bank. I've never had a balance greater than $8,000. Fucking yes. And all of a sudden it becomes you. It perpetuates. You have that confidence, that air of, shit, you know what, I might just be able to do this. If I get that balance from 11 grand to 25, I don't have anybody in my family that's got 25 grand in the bank. And all of a sudden there's that prospect of possibility. Wow, imagine if I could. And then all of a sudden it becomes possible, And we've got to be careful too that, we talk about 4 weeks is about this. My children want sushi after school. That's a great conversation piece. What a terrific segue. Listen, we're going to get some sushi or we're going to have peanut butter sandwiches at home. But when we save money, we'll be doing this holiday. Kids are very, very simple. They're very easy to understand. But the more you say yes, the more they expect yes. And the more that you encourage them and educate, sit down and say, hey, listen, if we were to save as a family, and this is what I encourage people to do, treat it as a family project. We have some serious conversations, my 9-year-old and I. It's like, Dad, what's this for? What's this about? Let's have a discussion. And it's not like, oh, they roll their eyes. She's actually quite curious. Keep it fun. Imagine if we can save enough money as a family where we can go to camp each night and the kids are just so enthralled. Okay, none, 0. We're starting today. But if we save sushi, we'll save about $24. Great. Is that 24 wins? Absolutely, Mum. The kids just need to be enrolled. And they've got to be on your team. Not they're missing out. There's a greater pitch. Have got credit cards and only making $13, $18, $22 an hour. But you've got cash in the bank. You've got half a fucking deposit for a house. How do you feel about that, sweetheart? Yeah. I'm giving you a number. We'll go buy a house. You and me will fix it up, renovate it, and then we'll rent the rooms out room by room per week. It'll pay itself off. And she's 9. Oh, yeah, okay. And so by the time you're at 19, 25, you can live in that home if you so wish.
That's amazing. And, to work as a team like that with your family, I think is a necessity.
It is, man.
Because if you're the man in the house, you're not the only one spending money. You're not
Correct.
the only one that's got desires.
Correct.
It's a necessity.
There's, not being a conversation about money at school. What better way to imprint a person to give them a sense of view, some sort of idea of horizon, financially where I need to be. What are the responsibilities of someone that can be independent of a job? How does that look? What would a business look like? I mean, those conversations, if you're not having them at home, they're not happening at all. And your children are honestly sacrificial fucking lamb. They're walking into the slaughter of the commercial world. It'll be Visa, it'll be MasterCard, the ATO, and the fucking government. I don't know about you. I want my children to be a little bit more intelligent than that. Worldly intelligent, not academia.
100%. And the whole hero thing, like we talked about, at the lunch table before, it applies in the family, right?
Sure.
Like, sure, we can afford that.
Yeah.
Like, putting on this show,
Yes.
which is a huge pressure on a man.
Yes.
To put on this show and say, of course we can afford that, because they don't want to
look silly.
Look silly.
Or look insignificant.
How do you?
And this can be women though too. Don't forget women have ego also. It's not just a man thing, man around the house. Many women run the home. But I just don't, again, we don't have the skill sets that we know how to be good at that skill. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And a quick win, it's actually a really great topic. I didn't fully appreciate it until now, because when you think about it, like when you go to bed at night, can you say that today was a win?
Yeah.
24 hours. That's quick. 24 hours.
Yeah,
that's a
sure.
quick win.
Yeah.
Can you look back and say, and does that not mean that, okay, if tomorrow's a quick win, and then the next day's a quick win, and then the next day's a quick win?
You start bolting those successive wins on top of each other, man, you're making progress. And here's the funny thing. I actually do need to take responsibility of my money. I have been frivolous. I'm 31. I should have a deposit for a home by now. I'm 27. I should have got a promotion by now. I'm 27 and I'm making 34 grand, 84 grand a year. Mark yet. But if we realise the integrity of what we're saying, how key this is, then people get good at money. And once you get good at the skill of just, I've got 24 grand in the account, that 24 bounces pretty fast to 36 and a half, you know. You get good at that shit. You're looking for opportunity. You're like, what if I did that quick little reno? What if I did this? What if I did a bit of a flip on that thing? All of a sudden it's like, holy smokes, I've got 81 and a half grand. I would never have thought that. There was a time where I would never have dreamt of having 10 million cash in a bank account. That would be fucking out there with Mars. And then one day it's like,
for a lot of us,
holy smokes. Do you know what? That's a pretty weird fucking feeling. Do you know what I mean? The more you earn, the more you leak. The more good, feel good. It's not about what's real.
Even I'll share an experience. I was walking down a street, and it was my home street, and these people were successful. I started to walk down the street,
Yeah.
and all I saw was banks.
Right.
I saw who actually owned those houses.
Got it.
Banks.
ANZ, CBA,
I
NAB.
just saw banks, and then I was opened. I was like, okay, there might be a bit of ownership here in terms of
equity.
people actually owning their house.
Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe they own 50%.
1 in 20, 1 in 30 would actually own it.
All I saw was banks.
Yeah.
And it changed my view completely on
Yeah.
it.
You know, and I think over time, over the next coming weeks as well, and we'll certainly open this conversation on Friday, but is how do I really move the revenue needle? It's not enough to just say, although we need these fundamentals. I think I've harboured on enough about the conversation where if I give you a lot, you'll just waste a lot. If I can get resourceful, really intelligent, and be respectful with this thing called money, and handle it carefully, diligently, you know, the good book talks about gold shekels in the bag. You know, like how many shekels did you spend? Would you invest? Then I'll give you more. Well, it's no point you being great at having nothing. We want you to be good at having some. But if you have a lot of money and it just slips through your fingers, that's a life of heartache, man. That is just financial trauma. You're going to have the ups and downs of business and always be chasing your tail. As I said before, I'd rather you be very clear and go, you know, a mediocre life versus get good at it, master the game, smash it in industry, business, finance, whatever that may be, whatever the chosen part, the chosen financial tool, and then get to reap the rewards of that. Time, money, freedom, independence, all those markers. And I think that's real. That's real.
Amazing. A
couple of quick things. And we'd love to see your questions. So please pump the questions through. There were some really great questions from Monday that we didn't quite get across. They're starting to fill up already. Thank you so much for your help, guys, downstairs. Appreciate it. And I see greater good in what we can do together as a team. I don't want to be enslaved to a job. I don't want to be working when I'm 55, 65 years old. So we might cut across to a couple of questions. To you, be very deliberate in where you put. As a measure up, do things like that. Give my you some ways. My counsel to you would be, because I've got the more projects, I probably would have looked at all. I would have looked at labour hire companies rather than give me the greatest return on effort. So instead of becoming entrepreneurial as a younger age, Ben, and ask myself, where's the greatest money to be made? And then I'd target that. And if I didn't have the skills, I'd go find them. And skills are an important part. You know, people say to me, oh, I don't have the smarts for that. I don't have the documentation from uni. Fuck that. Go find it. There's a free podcast. There's a free ebook. Forceful human being. I'm a single mother. My husband passed away 9 months ago. Sandra, I'm really sorry to hear that. I certainly understand loss, and that's not an easy thing to deal with. Probably a little bit like processing that. 9 months is a very short window. Give yourself. Again, I'm going to assume that it wasn't his choice. I hope it wasn't his choice to pass away. But nonetheless, I think that give yourself a fair amount of time. Even my time with my kids. I've seen that too.
That up, Mark, to completely recover.
I've seen that.
So that she doesn't bring that into the rest
Yeah,
of her
absolutely.
life.
Doesn't stay in the kids. Yeah. I've actually seen this. Very similar, Sandra. This actually reminds me of a situation. And just live the fucking dream. So whilst there's been an incredible loss in the family unit, that doesn't mean that you should stop growing. I think in serviture, that background of all of that, that you are serious about growth too. A big fucking few. Have those heart-to-hearts. She's in fact, in hospital. 1-year-old, just conversation. Read. It's a call. My wife was a great housekeeper. She kept me great at. Have a real heart-to-heart. Don't get too crazy in the red wine, but certainly have one and ask yourself, what are my strengths? What do I do really fucking well? How do I capitalize personally first? Personal. I'm going to show the world this is what I'm capable of. I was built for this. I have resolve. I have tenacity. I have skill. I have discipline. 23. I make decent money at the moment. However, it's a great conversation, but I think is going to be a skill. May not have some husband purpose. It's a great and makes in the future money. Marco, I just stayed in the game, man. I just went miles, man. Is that they have this? I see that is the beginning of their failure. I'll see if it works, and if it doesn't, then I'll do this. If it doesn't, then I'll go buy a business. If it doesn't, I'll just put more time in my career. And they've already given themselves an out. I don't care how long it takes. I just don't. No other attention for anything. Whatever mindset will come with that decision, that choice. Lunch, lucky how books you read to be a great dad. To have enough money, enough revenue asset classes. Slide back revenue per month that is actually going out. I'm in front. If I can have a business that continues to provide me that cash flow in a passive way, I can move back my commitment to do not have your children. And we're talking about Joseph is to make that fun of your mission. That's a big mistake, my friend, and too many parents do this. They want to give their kid cotton wool and have a fairy tale life. Fuck that. They need to understand there's a struggle, and that's not the operative. Income, any reading suggestions, Mark, setting up structures, trusts and companies. Pete, we'll get to that in time. That's a fairly heavy conversation, a pretty heavy piece. We'll get there over the next sort of 4, 5, 6 weeks about setting up structures and what have you. So I'm going to call that a wrap. The questions that you guys have got, please fire them through. I've got a few things here I'm always forgetting. Post that, punch that up there for us. How do I structure it Friday night too? Bye.
We're out. Well done.
Clear? Thank you.